You make good money. People assume you're fine. You look fine. Your job sounds good, your apartment is decent, your car is normal, your life looks like it should be working. And yet every month still feels weirdly tight. Not broke in the obvious way, broke in the modern way. The kind where one bad week can throw off the whole month. The kind where a mechanic call, a medical bill, or a last-minute flight still hits like an emergency even though your salary says it shouldn't. And that disconnect is exactly why so many Americans feel confused about money right now. Because the problem is not always income. A lot of the time, the problem is what that income is being forced to carry. That's the trap. People think a higher salary automatically creates safety. It doesn't. Not if your fixed costs rise just as fast. Not if every raise quietly gets assigned to rent, car payments, insurance, groceries, subscriptions, debt, and the 1,000 tiny leaks of adult life before you ever get to feel richer. So you end up in this bizarre place where your salary keeps improving, but your stress level doesn't. You're climbing, but the mountain keeps growing under your feet. Imagine a guy named Matt. He's 33, works in operations for a healthcare company in Dallas, and makes $102,000 a year. On paper, he's doing well. This is the kind of income that's supposed to mean adulthood is finally under control. He rents a decent apartment in a safe area, drives a nice SUV, contributes a bit to retirement, pays his student loans, eats out sometimes, orders takeout when work gets busy. Nothing wild. Nothing that sounds like financial self-destruction. He's not buying luxury watches or blowing money in Vegas. He's just living what most people would call a normal middle-class life. But by the end of most months, Matt still has that same sinking feeling. Not panic, pressure. Like his paycheck is decent, but it arrives already tired. Here's why. After taxes, payroll deductions, health insurance, and a modest retirement contribution, Matt takes home around $6,000 a month. Sounds solid until you see what that life actually costs. Rent is $2,150. Car payment is $690. Insurance is $230. Gas is $220. Student loans are $320. Groceries are around $600 because groceries don't even feel real anymore. Utilities, internet, and phone add another $330. Gym is $70. Subscriptions and apps are $85. Eating out, coffee, and social stuff are about $450 even when he thinks he's being reasonable. And that's before normal life starts punching through the budget. Haircut, parking, oil change, work clothes, birthday dinner,
Wedding invitation.
copay, new tires, the random Target run that somehow becomes $140. One week where he's too tired to cook and Uber Eats starts stealing from his future again. Suddenly there's barely any room left. In a good month, he saves a little. In a bad month, he quietly moves money around and tells himself next month will be cleaner. It won't, because this is the part most people miss. Matt does not have a spending problem in the way personal finance gurus love to pretend. He has a fixed cost problem. His life is simply too expensive relative to the amount of breathing room his paycheck creates. And once that happens, every raise becomes fake. You earn more, but you do not feel safer. You just get better furniture inside the same trap. That is why people with good salaries still feel like they are drowning. They are not always being reckless. They are structurally overcommit. Their monthly life is too heavy. And in America, heavy has become normal. That's what makes this so dangerous. If Matt were obviously irresponsible, this would be easy to fix. But he's not. He's doing what the culture quietly tells people at his income level to do. Live in the decent area. Drive the respectable car. Keep up appearances. Pay for convenience because you work hard. Upgrade your life a little because you earned it. Each decision feels reasonable by itself. That's the genius of the trap. It never shows up as one catastrophic choice. It shows up as 100 small, normal choices that slowly remove all margin from your life. And margin is the whole game. Margin is what turns a car repair into an inconvenience instead of a crisis. Margin is what lets you leave a bad job, say no to a terrible deal, or survive a rough month without borrowing from your future. Margin is the space between what you earn and what your life demands. When that gap gets too small, your income stops feeling like freedom and starts feeling like maintenance. You are no longer building wealth. You are carrying weight. Now here's where it gets psychological. Most people don't just spend money to survive. They spend money to feel normal, to feel like they're doing okay, to feel like their life matches their age, effort, education, and income. A raise does not just increase purchasing power. It increases identity pressure. Suddenly there's a new standard of life you feel weird not meeting. Better apartment, better neighborhood, better car, better version of yourself. Not because you're shallow, because you're human. And America is unbelievably good at making expensive lives feel ordinary. That's why this issue hits so many people emotionally. You can be making more money than you ever thought you would and still feel behind. You can have a respectable career and still feel fragile. You can be the friend everyone thinks has it together while you're quietly shifting money between accounts on the 28th so your checking balance doesn't look embarrassing. Then debt enters the picture, and the whole thing gets sharper. Because a good salary can hide bad financial structure for a long time. Someone making decent money can absorb an expensive life longer than someone living paycheck to paycheck. That's what makes the fall so deceptive. The warning signs come late. A big car payment feels manageable. A luxury apartment feels manageable. A vacation on the card feels manageable. Until life throws one bad month at you. Let's say Matt gets hit with a break job, a last-minute flight, and a bigger-than-expected vet bill. He puts $2,100 on a credit card and tells himself he'll clean it up next month. But next month is not clean. Next month never is when your baseline life already uses almost everything you make. So the balance stays. Now interest gets involved. Now part of his future income belongs to past convenience. Now he's not just paying for his life. He's paying for the gap between the life he built and the life he can actually afford. That is the modern broke feeling. Not empty pockets, full obligations. And this is why people get so frustrated when someone tells them to stop buying coffee. Coffee is not the issue. The issue is that their entire financial structure is too tight. They have too many non-negotiable payments and not enough room for life to happen. Once that happens, every problem feels personal because there is no slack in the system. So what do you do if this sounds like you? First, stop judging your financial health by salary alone. Salary is potential. What matters is conversion. How much of that income actually survives long enough to become savings, options, and peace of mind? The person making $78,000 with margin is often in a stronger position than the person making $115,000 without it. One can absorb life. The other needs life to behave. Second, stop asking only what things cost. Ask what pressure they create. That apartment might fit your budget on paper, but if it leaves you tense every month, it is too expensive. That car payment might technically fit, but if it kills your ability to save, it is too expensive. A lot of people are using affordability calculators when they should be using stress calculators. Third, attack fixed costs first. This is not sexy advice, but it is the advice that works. Housing, transportation, debt payments. These are the categories that decide whether your life feels light or pinned down. Cutting a few small expenses helps, but lowering one major recurring cost changes everything. A cheaper car creates more freedom than 100 smaller budgeting tricks ever will. Fourth, build an anti-panic fund before you obsess over optimization. Not because cash is exciting, but because panic is expensive. When you have no buffer, every decision gets made under pressure. You keep bad jobs. You finance repairs. You use credit cards as emotional first aid. Even a few $1,000s changes your behavior because it gives you space to think instead of just react. And finally, separate comfort from status. This one saves people years. Comfort is useful. Safe neighborhood, reliable transportation, decent groceries, a calm home. Status is different. Status is when your spending is trying to prove something. To friends, to coworkers, to strangers, to yourself. Status has no finish line. There is always a nicer version, a newer version, a more impressive version. If your lifestyle is built around looking successful, it will almost always outrun your actual financial strength. That is the surprising part most people never hear. The goal is not to feel rich. The goal is to stop feeling trapped. That's what people are really chasing when they say they want more money. They want relief. They want 1 month where the math does not feel personal. They want to stop feeling that little wave of dread every time a number pops up on a screen. They want enough slack in the system that life can happen without everything wobbling. And that feeling does not come from appearances. It comes from margin. It comes from living in a way your paycheck can carry without strain. It comes from owning fewer expensive obligations. It comes from resisting the upgrade that looks normal but quietly makes your future weaker. It comes from building a life that is lighter than your income, not heavier than your image. Because here's the truth. A good salary really can change your life, but only if you let it create stability before you let it create lifestyle. If stability comes first, raises start to matter. Savings begin to stick. You stop using debt to smooth out normal life. Emergencies become annoying instead of destabilizing. You think more clearly. You negotiate better. You take smarter risks. Money starts acting like a tool instead of a monthly emergency. If lifestyle comes first, the opposite happens. The outside improves, but the inside gets tighter. Your apartment gets nicer, your car gets nicer, your habits get more expensive, and somehow your sense of safety never arrives. You keep waiting to feel better at the next income level, and then the next one, because the real problem was never the number on your paycheck. It was the weight of the life attached to it. So if you make decent money and still feel like you're drowning, do not just ask, how do I earn more? Ask the harder question, is my lifestyle making me stronger, or is it quietly making me more fragile? Because that answer will tell you more about your future than your salary ever will. And once you see that clearly, everything changes. You stop using money to perform success and start using it to build actual security.